Hey everybody, Aaron Cowan, Sage Dynamics. I've done a video on this in the past. I believe I did a question and answered video back when I still had time to do those, but I wanted to address it specifically because it's something that I find very, very troubling. What I find troubling is the amount of people who leave their firearm in their vehicle, and then the vehicle gets broken into and the firearm gets stolen. Now, some of that can be attributed to just complacency. The more confident we are, the closer we get to complacency. So when you used to become very confident in personal carry, maybe like, you know, I'm going to get a truck holster. You're going to have a holster in the truck or a holster in the car instead of carrying it on your person where the gun should be. It's just like your wallet, you know. Some people, of course, have that behavior of taking their wallet out and leaving it in the car, and then they get out of their car because they're like, I just got to go over here. I don't need my wallet, no big deal. The gun is very similar to that, in that mentality of, I'm only going to be gone for a second. Or some people are even worse about it, and they're like, I'll leave it in there overnight. I live in a safe neighborhood. Please do not contribute to stolen guns on the street. And that's the purpose of this video. You can find the numbers yourself of how many stolen firearms contribute to gun crime and gun trade, the black market, if you will. Guns that are floating around out there and being used for felonious purposes that were stolen out of some guy's car because he was just running into the gas station, or he lives in an apartment complex that's gated and he's like, none of my neighbors are criminals. I'll just leave it in the car overnight, and I'll leave it in plain view in a vehicle that has no tinted windows with absolutely no security system whatsoever. That'll be fine. And then you see those guys get completely roasted when they post about it on Facebook or some other social media, and rightfully so. You deserve the ridicule you're going to get if a firearm gets stolen out of your vehicle, because there's absolutely no excuse for it. There are multiple storage options out there, which some of them I'll cover my own personal storage options, for any vehicle whatsoever. And if there is not a specific type of gun console safe or gun box or gun locker made, every single firearm ships with a really good security device. You've seen one of these, right? So this is a cable lock. States like California require these to ship with firearms to basically be able to lock the firearm up to keep it safe around kids, which is another good topic. This little cable lock, or cable locks like it, or maybe you want to buy something a little more robust, is an excellent security system if you have to leave the firearm in a vehicle for whatever reason. And we all know, even carrying just a handgun, we're not even talking about truck guns right now. If I have to go into a government building that has metal detectors, I've got to leave my firearm in the car. It was an unexpected trip or something like that. I can use the cable lock to basically lock the gun to the car itself. I've done this in the past where I literally just fed the cable lock through the gun like you're supposed to. Lock the side of the rear, put the cable lock through it, and then locked the gun and the cable lock to the frame of the seat or some other hard point inside the vehicle or in the trunk. That provides a much higher degree of security, which prevents that moment of opportunity crime where most of these handguns are stolen. Your truck is covered with gun stickers, your car is covered with gun stickers. That may be a deterrent from carjacking, that's arguable, but it's definitely an attraction to someone who's out there looking for an easy gun to steal. So if you do happen to pull into a parking lot and you're in broad daylight, nobody's going to break into my car right now. It takes less than a minute, less than half a minute, probably less than a quarter of a minute, if there's a gun in plain accessible view, like in your truck holster, to break the window, grab the gun, and be on your merry criminal way. So even something as simple as this, which most guns just come, it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. You can lock the gun to some hard point on the vehicle. But some of the people who are going to have their guns stolen out of their vehicle, they wouldn't use this because they don't have that mentality. They have the mentality of, it's not going to happen to me, which is a completely ridiculous concept if you think about it, because we carry a gun. Because the people who don't carry guns say, that's not going to happen to me, so why would I carry a gun? So why would you have the protection mentality of, I carry a gun because it may happen to me, but when it comes to your gun getting stolen out of your vehicle, I can leave it in my truck holster because it's not going to happen to me. You'll notice I am a little bit passionate about this subject, and I think a lot of that has to do with my experience as a cop. Stolen guns. Seeing stolen guns and seeing what guns get stolen, and kind of being like, okay, well, now there's one more firearm in the streets in the hands of someone who might not have otherwise been able to lawfully purchase one, which is a separate conversation. But I don't like the idea of violent felons having easy access to guns because you're fucking lazy. Now, if you're like me, the cable lock is kind of a not good enough, and I absolutely agree with you. In my car and in my truck, I have more robust security measures that I can employ to protect my firearm in the event that I have to leave it in the car. In my truck, I have it's made by Locker Down. It's a console vault. The only thing that I really care about it care for about it is the fact that it is a dial locking system. It's basically, you know, a traditional analog 4-digit code to be able to do a quick access and open that box up. But it hard mounts to the console inside that console vault, so it provides a higher degree of protection than I would otherwise have. It's much better than the level of retention you may have on the Serpa you have underneath the steering wheel, that's for sure. Another thing about trucks that I don't think some people realize or it doesn't occur to them is if you are mounting your vehicle in a truck holster, it's a truck, so it sits higher than a car usually. Anybody walking by may have direct line of sight underneath the steering wheel or on the side of the console or on the transmission hump where you've mounted that firearm. So it's actually a lot more visible. They don't have to actually bend down and peer down into a vehicle to see if there's any guns in it. And if you've got a gigantic Browning or Smith & Wesson sticker in your back window, that may just attract the person to casually look inside your vehicle and see if there is a firearm that can be stolen in a moment of opportunity. The console vaults are not super expensive. Unfortunately, they're not available for most cars, but they are available for your popular truck models, your Dodges, your Chevys, your Fords. They're less than $300 for a really good model that's going to add a layer of protection. Me personally, I leave mine unlocked when there's nothing in it. So if someone breaks in the truck, they can open it up and be like, oh, I didn't get a gun. Because I've yet to come up with a way to keep people from breaking my windows just for fun to be able to steal things out of my vehicle. Now, for long guns, the truck gun, the ubiquitous, the venerable truck firearm that people talk about carrying around, and some people do, some people don't. I do keep a long gun in the vehicle. However, it doesn't stay in there overnight. So when I'm going somewhere during the day, the truck gun goes in the truck, or sometimes the car will get to that. And then when I get to wherever I'm going, it stays in there in a secured lockbox. For the truck, I use what's called a Boss Strong Box. I have an F-150. I like the Boss Strong Box because it sits low enough, its overall height is low enough that it allows the seat to rest on its own supports versus the seat resting on the lockbox. There's some other boxes out there, like Tough Products makes a good one. They're both key access, which I don't really care for. I would like a cipher, an actual digital, because they're quicker than keys. Unfortunately, no one's really making a digital lock for either console vaults or for the under seat for the long gun. The only thing about the strong box that you have to be aware of is it's really short, which means if you're running accessories at 3 or 9 o'clock on your rifle, the rifle may not fit with the foam in there. I had to take the foam out to get the drawer to close and open without any obstruction or dragging or catching on anything that's on the gun. So that's something to definitely be aware of. And things with a wider radius rail, like I have a SIG with the integral suppressor, the 300 blackout, it doesn't like that drawer at all because of the weapon light. And I'm not taking the weapon light off the rifle. So I did have to choose a rifle that would fit well in that drawer. And when I'm driving the truck, I just have to be aware, like, hey, this rifle's not going to go in that lockbox. But that's something I do religiously. The third option I have in the truck, which is not an option I really use, but it is an option available. If you have a locking bed cover and a locking tailgate, the stacked deck system, or I should say the decked stacking system, the deck drawers are really good. They're really high durable polymer. You can put locks in them. However, if you have a locking tailgate, that'd be kind of superfluous. If you have a locking bed cover, there'd be 3 locks that somebody would have to get through, or 2 locks that somebody would have to get through in order to steal your firearm. But at the end of the day, they are still just polymer drawers, and if somebody has a tool and a little bit of time on their hands, say overnight, they could still potentially get access to your firearm by just taking the deck system apart. Not something I'm super concerned with because I have a locking tailgate with a locking bed cover. But that's not something I would leave overnight anyway. Even when I travel, when I drive to classes, generally if the class is within 2-3 hours, I'll drive. Anytime else I fly. The firearms don't stay in the vehicle overnight. And I think that that's another point that we have to stress is even if we do have security measures, even if we do have like a drawer system in the back, a trunk vault, something like that, console vault, under seat vault, someone can still get in there given enough time, and that's something that we need to be concerned with. So this is where that complacency is something you need to avoid, especially with rifles. I don't want to leave a firearm needlessly in a vehicle. So even though I do have that truck gun, if you will, it doesn't stay in there overnight or for extended periods of time. Even when I come home, if I come home during the day and I have no plans to go out until later on in the evening, the firearm comes out. It doesn't cost me anything and doesn't take up much time, and it's actually 2 or 3 calories worth of exercise to remove the firearm from the vehicle and then put it back in there when I need it. For cars, there's actually a lot of options. Unfortunately, like I said earlier in the video, there aren't too many options that are console related, but there are boxes you can mount underneath the seat. Me personally, I have a trunk vault, a brand name trunk vault from Basically, it's for a police cruiser, and it does provide a high degree of protection. It's got again, we've got buttons, but this can take a key or a 4-digit combination. One big thing I will tell you if you do get a trunk vault is you need to change the default code on it. Don't just trust that bad guys are not going to be able to get the default code to the trunk vault, because I can get my phone and Google default trunk vault code and get the result. And then if you didn't change your default code, somebody's going to be able to punch in and steal the firearm out of the vehicle. This has happened actually quite a few times to vehicles in law enforcement, or I say firearms in law enforcement vehicles, where the guy just knew the default code. Maybe because he was the installer, maybe because he had Google, but he was able to break the window of a patrol Tahoe or Explorer or whatever the vehicle was, enter the default code because the department never changed it, and now he had his nice brand new whatever rifle he happened to steal. So if you do go with a trunk vault, which I highly recommend for a sedan or for a car, change the default code. For the love of God, change the default code. And that goes true of any cipher lock system or any combination lock system. As far as the methods I use for the truck and the car, I've been very, very happy with their performance. The one weak point of the trunk vault system is there are pry points in it. You can actually get a crowbar in there and start to work on that drawer. And it's made out of like high compressed particle board. There are steel and aluminum parts to it as well. So if someone has enough time, they can still get in there. This kind of goes back to what I already said, though. If it doesn't need to stay in the vehicle, take it out. There's no reason to leave the firearm in there overnight. Definitely shouldn't do that. Because given enough time, somebody can definitely get in there. If you have good security at the house, cameras and stuff like that, maybe you're a little less worried, but it goes back to it's not going to happen to me mentality. That's something that we don't have in firearms because we carry firearms. We carry firearms because we don't have that. It's not going to happen to me mentality. So we definitely need to take the same approach when it comes to storing firearms in vehicles for whatever purpose during the day. Overnight for me is generally a no-go, absolutely. Even in hotel rooms, like I said, all the firearms come out. They're either in lock cases and bags. When I fly places, I take a lot of these cable locks with me, or actually have some very thicker cable that I can put padlocks on. So if I'm leaving the hotel room and I'm leaving rifles in the hotel room, I can lock the rifles to something in the hotel room, such as a bed frame. Good luck tucking that under your shirt and getting out of the hotel unnoticed. No security measure is foolproof. Given enough time, anybody can defeat it, but we do need to take more proactive measures as a firearms community in helping others realize that, hey, it could still happen, your gun could still get stolen, maybe this isn't the best approach. So even if you're only running to the gas station for a minute and you have a car holster and that's something you want to do, it would probably benefit you to put it on your person and go inside versus leave it in the vehicle. If you're not willing to do that because you'll only be a second, throw it in the console vault or lock it to the frame of the seat or some other hard point inside the vehicle so your gun doesn't become another statistic. I'm Eric Allen with Sage Dynamics. Train accordingly.